You got to be a doer with that. So I want to introduce you to a young man today that's a doer, and he's doing something with his dreams. Would you welcome Thurmond as he joins me on stage today? All right, Thurmond, I guess your claim to fame would be you're Pastor Simone's husband.
That is true.
That's how people
Thank
know
you, wife.
But tell us a little bit about what you do day to day of making an impact on people's lives.
So I am a school counselor at Beverly Shores Elementary, where I work with all types of students. I work with students that speak other languages. I work with students with disabilities, behavior problems, gifted children as well. Pretty much whatever the boss tells me to do, that's what I do.
Whatever the need comes up, that's
Yes.
where you. And how long have you been doing that?
I've been there for about 11 happy years.
11 happy years. And by the way, I mean, everybody I talk to about this man, all the parents that their students have gone to that school, they'll say, he's made a difference in my child's life. He's made a difference. And so I just thank God for you, Thurmond. I thank God.
Glory to God.
Now, is this something that is your dream that you've always wanted to do, or how did this come about?
I believe I always wanted to work with kids. Even when I was younger playing basketball, I always had a passion for working with students, whether they had disabilities or not. I enjoy kids.
Right. So you want to help kids.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
So tell us a little bit about your background, where you were raised, where you went to high school, college, and all that sort of stuff.
Sure. I grew up in a small town called Hobbs, New Mexico, where there's not much to do but play basketball and find trouble, and I was good at both.
Oh.
So growing up, me and my best friend, we just really enjoyed basketball. His name was Brian Russell, so we always played ball together. I was big into, I went to church all the time. I was in the youth group. I had both sets. My grandparents were there in walking distance, and my parents were together. So I had a pretty stable background growing up. We had high expectations, me and my friend Brian Russell, because we made varsity as middle schoolers.
Wow,
they brought us
that's
up,
great.
Yeah, to the varsity, and so we had high expectations. We didn't quite fulfill those expectations, so we both kind of had a chip on our shoulder when it came to graduation time. He got a college scholarship. Mine didn't come because my grades weren't ready, and for whatever reason. So we kind of lived reckless and wild for that summer going into the fall.
Right.
So within doing that, some bad things happened. We were hanging out with in that little town. There were gangs, not like Compton, like my man Doc is from. Not gangs like that, but we did have gangs. And when you hang around real gangsters, bad things happen.
Right.
And something bad happened to my friend Tracy. We were outside one day. We were standing actually, and someone drove by and they were shooting. And when you hear loud shots, you run. So I took off running, and I thought he was with me. So when I turned around and noticed he wasn't with me, I went back and he was laying on the concrete, and he was lifeless.
Wow.
So that right there really impacted me, and I could remember sitting in the back of the police car thinking, I've got to do something different with my life.
Yeah.
So
life, you realized at that time life is pretty short.
Yeah.
And so how did it make you change? What did you do as a result of that? I mean, a lot of people have experiences like that, then they go back to how it was before, but what was it like for you?
Well, I did the same thing. That did change for a time. That helped me to get my grades together and take on a scholarship that was offered to me later on at New Mexico Military Institute. So, after that, I just I would be, hot and cold, mediocre type of Christian, because it was just hard to shake everything. That was still traumatic and impactful in my life. Detectives would still come and question me because the murders have never been solved.
Wow.
The mother still looks at me to this day, and she feels like it was my fault.
Wow.
Yeah.
So to this day, you still carry a little bit of that pressure or those feelings of regret because of that.
Yes.
Wow, that must be tough.
Yeah. So, I moved out here to Orlando, and me and Simone, we didn't know each other. We met out here. But I still kind of just lived a tad bit reckless. And I can remember I was in Carver Shores Church, and I stood up and told the minister that I was a Christian. And he was like, "No, you're not." I'm like, "How you going to tell me that I'm not a Christian? You don't even know me." But he read through me. He really did.
Wow.
And I ended up turning my life over for the second time because I got baptized when I was younger.
Sure.
But for the second time, I really decided that I do have to change. So with Simone's help, I was able to turn my life around as well.
And so since that time, then you've been pursuing the dream that you have and making a difference in kids' lives.
Yes. So I ended up finishing college as an adult, working and going to school. And I remember listening on Z88.3 where they were talking about becoming a counselor. So I pursued that dream since I already had my AA. I just finished off my bachelor's and my master's at Palm Beach Atlantic.
Wow. Yeah. And so then that all come together. It's interesting how God put it piece to piece. Yes. And then now you're living in that. And I'm sure you're so thankful you made that choice.
Oh, yes. God is so good. He has made such an impact in my life. And for anyone else who has a kid that thinks that, you want to write them off or they're giving you so much trouble, I was that kid giving my family a hard time growing. I was a good kid, but still, I was doing things.
Yeah, it's interesting when you hear stories like that and see how that God's hand can be just moving along and bringing you to place. I mean, I just think about all the kids, the hundreds, probably thousands by now, that you've impacted there at the school, that their life has totally changed. I mean, do you have any of those stories that come to mind of some of the kids that you've made a difference in their life?
And it's hard because you can talk to them as third graders or fifth graders, and you won't even know that the change has been made until they come back years later and tell you, "Thank you." Yeah. What you were saying, that really changed my life. You were right. That did. Life really does happen this sort of way, and it's awesome to see kids go from being right here in the valley to up on the mountain. So
wow, that's awesome.
It can happen.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's give us the Lord a hand there.
God is good.
Awesome. And then that brings satisfaction to you.
Oh yes, definitely. I just love to see people's life change. I don't want anyone to be counted out because no matter what anyone has ever done in their lives, it can't be any worse than what I've done or anybody else has done. God is still there for you. Yeah,
isn't that good? Don't let anybody be counted out. And I love what you said, that, a lot of people when they hear testimonies, it's somebody who, a 5-point student, got the scholarship, made it, all of that. But, I mean, you had a lot of bumps in the road that it looked like that maybe you weren't going to do that. But yet, I mean, I can only imagine what it was like to see your friend murdered and then to know that could have easily been you.
Yes.
Except for the grace of God.
God is so good. I mean, and it's like that with anybody's life. I mean, you can turn down the wrong path at any time. And it's just good to know that I had people who were really praying over me with my mother and my grandparents, and it worked out.
Wow. So what would you say to people here today that haven't maybe stepped into their God-given dream yet? What would you say to them to encourage them?
Oh, I would say it's okay if you don't know exactly where that path is right now in your life, especially if you're in high school or if you're even in years in college, even if you're a couple of years in college, because I did so many jobs, I never knew that I was going to end up being a school counselor. Matter of fact, if you ask some of my teachers, they probably wouldn't believe you. I worked as a guidance counselor clerk, and I never thought that that's what I would end up being.
Yeah. Wow. And you have a great family, right? Tell us about your family.
Yes, I have wonderful children. 3 adult kids. 2 were in the military, Michaela and Nico, which is our blended family, and Haley as well. She made us grandparents.
Awesome.
And together we share Kingston and Princeton.
Awesome. Wow.
Yes.
Well, we're so thankful that you're here at the Father's house, but we're thankful that you're making a difference in our community by fulfilling your God-given dream. So where do you see yourself in 10 years from now?
I see myself in 10 years from now just doing a lot of the same things, but better. Just trying to perfect my craft.
Awesome. Hey, let's give him a hand, shall we? Thank you, Thurmond. Thank you so much.